Hello everybody, Gannon here. Welcome back to another segment of the Captain's Chair. Today I have Caleb with me.
What's up?
He's been in another video before this, a Rainbow Six video we did together. Caleb has recently been watching some Star Trek and he's been trying to get into it, and he has seen the entirety of Star Trek Discovery. I, on the other hand, have just finished season 1 of Star Trek Discovery the other day, and I thought it would be probably, pretty interesting since season 3 is going to be coming out probably sometime early next year.
Picard's coming out.
Yeah, Picard's coming out as well. It would probably be interesting to do like a season review of like Discovery season 1 and season 2 when I get to it, and then also eventually when they come out season 3 and then the first season of Star Trek Picard, because that is probably going to be a multi-seasonal show. I'm
For sure,
like
yeah.
90% sure about that.
Yeah, no, there's no way they're only gonna make like 1 or 2.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure it's already confirmed that they're in the production of the second season. I'm like 99% sure that it's gonna be a multi-seasonal show. But anyways, today we're gonna be doing a season 1 review of Star Trek Discovery. And Star Trek Discovery is a pretty interesting part of Trek. It's a pretty controversial one.
I think it's so good.
I think it's really good.
The fact that they reinvented the Klingons and the fact that it's so like cinematic is amazing. I think the Klingons are so cool.
I like the Klingons a lot.
Yeah,
I actually did like the reimagining. I think I'd like to get it out of the way first and foremost that I think it's perfectly appropriate.
Yeah, no,
that,
it's scarier.
Yeah, I think it's perfectly appropriate for these slight changes in the appearance of things. The reimaginings are totally appropriate for Star Trek.
Yeah.
Each Star Trek is definitely an interpretation of the time in which it's made. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
The topics that are brought up in season 1 alone are very Gen Z progressive topics for sure.
The issues with the mushroom network,
the spore drive,
and
then
the creature.
The creature, that was definitely an animal welfare message, the tardigrade.
Yeah.
I think the first thing we should start off, I think we both, like me and Caleb are both in agreement that we thoroughly enjoyed Star Trek Discovery.
Oh, I think it's amazing.
I'm thoroughly aware about how Star Trek Discovery is kind of a pretty controversial part in the community. A lot of people would like to consider a Star Trek Discovery to not even be canon. Now, I don't know, I haven't researched anything, the exact canonical disruptions. I haven't went and, researched like, oh, this is where Discovery fucked up, this couldn't possibly happen or anything. As somebody who's watched like most of Star Trek, I didn't notice anything too conflicting. Some red flags I saw were like they basically had a holodeck on the Discovery, but it wasn't a holodeck. It was 100% like a holographic room.
There was definitely a lot of like technological differences.
Yeah, because I don't think you've gotten really to, I think you have seen the holodecks in Next Gen.
Yeah.
They are able to literally like transmutate and manipulate matter and make just like lifeless bodies so you can touch and feel and have sex and have fun in those things. In the one that was shown in Star Trek Discovery, it was just like a holographic room, like a simulation room. That is perfectly reasonable to assume that if in the 24th century we have the holodeck, that in the 23rd century we would have something like that. The fact that it just wasn't shown in the original series, like, okay, that's not going to be shown in the original series. That shit, like, they're not going to think of that back in the 60s.
No,
they're not going to go through the effort of trying to show that in the show.
A lot of, like, the reason, like, there's a lot of technological differences, because, like, a lot of the stuff we have now, people couldn't even fathom about back then. It just feels weird, and, like, it's whatever. Like, the ship looks cool, the camera style's cool. It's just a different look on
That's another thing that I feel like a lot of Star Trek fans are uncomfortable with, is how cinematic it is in the pacing, because it's very different from other tracks.
It is a very like different feeling. Like, it almost doesn't feel like Star Trek. It almost feels like a Star Trek spin-off.
And another thing, it's like they're taking some characters who have a pivotal role in the Star Trek canon, like Sarek and Spock, and now they're creating this.
Sarek's a badass now. Like, he's cool now.
Dude, Sarek's always been cool. I don't know what you're saying.
Not he didn't seem as cool like then.
Oh,
now
okay.
he seems like really cool.
Oh, this guy hasn't seen the next gen fully, and he hasn't seen all the original series, so you don't know how cool Sarek is.
Okay, yeah.
Sarek's always been cool. That dude he's a homie, Vulcan for sure. But no, he does appear way cooler in this series than others.
He looks really cool.
This series, I feel like, was very ambitious. I feel like I'm happy to see Star Trek, and also this point in the Star Trek canon, like I've always known there was a human Klingon war like slightly prior to the original series that gave them huge bad blood, and now that they're actually going into this and they're creating this kind of reimagined crew and everything, and I love the fucking cast, dude. That's the one thing we do need to talk about. First off, the main character, Sonequa Martin Green, I think is her name, and she plays Michael Burnham. Michael Burnham is so fucking cute, dude. She is a great character. I totally have a crush on her. I thought she was a badass from the start, and it's very interesting seeing a Star Trek series being centered around an individual character. That is...
Yeah, it is interesting.
It's definitely one of the ambitious differences from this and the other Trek series. Who are some of your favorite characters?
I really liked... what was his name? Saruk?
No. You mean Saru?
Saru, yeah.
Isn't that his name?
The like weird alien dude on the crew.
Yeah, Saru.
Yeah, Saru was definitely one of my favorite characters. Just because he was kind of there for like a voice of reason.
Dude, he was really good, and I respected him.
Really cool.
Yeah, and I respected him. I highly doubted his abilities to be able to command a ship or have a command position on a starship because of just the fact that he... Oh, and the lore behind his species was really cool.
With the like neck things?
Yeah, because they were like a species that was
they're
specifically bred and hunted.
Yeah.
Which is, I feel like, also an animal welfare message,
and
like of animal exploitation.
You learn that his species was originally the predator.
I did tell you before though that they actually did win a fucking like award for that makeup that they did for Saru. At the science, it was like a science fiction film convention or something. They won multiple awards, I'm pretty sure. And deservingly, because this is definitely like one of the best pieces of science fiction media that has come out in a minute. People will give this series shit about the slight canonical differences, the overtly progressive message, which we'll get to that in a moment, because that's my biggest beef with. I don't understand why people don't like this series. You can tell that they made this show with some passion.
Oh, for sure.
It looks fucking beautiful. I haven't even seen season 2. I bought this jacket to wear for the captain's chair, and I modeled my caricature off of like the Christopher Pike jacket because I think that the designs that they use in Star Trek Discovery are some of the best Star Trek has ever made.
Their uniforms are so cool.
They're so fucking sick. They're like reimagined biker jackets.
They're gold and silver, and then like the copper color.
The highlights and everything, and the small nuances that allow you to see the differences in their rank and command, because they're not as obvious. It's kind of like in Enterprise, you know, how they had just the slight different colored stripes up here and the different really small insignias. I really like those.
You can see how like their Star Trek symbol has like a star or like whatever.
Yeah, you know, just the slight nuances because because everybody's wearing kind of the similar shit, but just the slight little differences.
It's really cool.
The original series references and a lot of the references they made.
What was his name? I can't remember his name. Harry Mudd, yeah.
Harry Mudd.
No, I thought it was really cool how he made a comeback.
Oh, yeah.
And Vok. Oh my god.
Dude, let's talk about Harry Mudd a little bit more, because that's really interesting, actually. Harry Mudd shows up in 2 episodes of the original series, and he also shows up in, I know, at least 1 episode of the animated series. And they actually did decide to bring back his character, give him a little bit more backstory, and they also had fucking Rainn Wilson play him, and he did a brilliant job.
Amazing job. It was really weird to see him in that role, but I thought he did an amazing job.
Not to mention that the episode that he was in, where they were stuck in the time loop and they had the dance and it was slightly romantic and everything. Really that is my favorite episode of the entire season.
It was a good episode, yeah.
And I actually loved, and we'll get to Vogue off of this, but just the romantic kind of like branch off between Michael Burnham and Ash Tyler was really good.
You can see the difference between Ash Tyler, but there's still Vok there. And it's really weird to see how Ash Tyler and Michael have this relationship, but Vok has the relationship with like the weird
until they like get rid of Vogue, like they kill him, they kill his consciousness, so now he just has his memory.
They morphed him into like Ash Tyler's body is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but at that time it was really interesting to see like two characters in one body, even though, but like that's not there anymore.
I don't know.
Because at the end of the season 1, they are not even at the end, but Laurel goes back in there and she literally like murders Vogue in his body.
Wasn't Ash Tyler like still with her?
No, so this is what happened.
Since I've watched it.
So at the start, there were two people in one body, right? There were literally two people alive, fighting over the same body.
They morphed Volk's body into Ash Tyler's, and he still had his consciousness.
Yes, but Laurel and Vogue were not planning for like Vogue's psyche to clash with Ash Tyler's.
Yeah.
They just thought that Vogue was going to be able to take over that body and do whatever the fuck he wants. But since Ash Tyler fell in love with Michael Burnham is like making it so that he's still like alive in there.
Delaying his mission.
And then Saru goes down there in like a badass. This was really impressive. He convinces Laurel to kill Vogue, basically kill his psyche. So now near the end, after he kills Culber and everything, and now he's fully got control of his body, he now is just Ash Tyler again. But now he totally has all of Vogue's memories. So now he's just Ash Tyler, but he's also just like half Klingon, basically.
No, he's
just a sick Klingon dude.
He knows all this Klingon stuff just cause.
And at the end of season 1, when he had to go down to the Klingon planet, and he was up there hyping with the boys, that was
when you saw him like
like he just went up there like a Chad.
Whenever the Klingons speak Klingon, it's so cool.
I loved the way that they did the Klingon dialect and everything.
It's so good.
And I just love the way they portrayed Kronos.
It wasn't just showing the ship's perspective, it was showing like the conflict around like the entire crew.
Yeah, you were really seeing it like the Klingons' point of view.
Yeah.
And I really appreciated that for sure.
I really appreciate how you see both sides of the action.
At least, dude, I didn't think I was going to like this series because a lot of the things people were telling me, they were like,
how aggressive and liberal it was.
Yeah, like they were like telling me aggressive and it was like very political or anything.
Not really.
It wasn't very political at all. All of the things that they chose to include that one might perceive as just like political or liberal are just relevant Gen Z topics.
Pretty like progressive views for like Gen Z, and like it's seen by like liberal from most like other people's views. They're not like asking too much. It's like asking like a pretty reasonable thing of us.
Yeah, like guys, Star Trek has always been progressive from day one. They had the first interracial kiss on television.
The fact that they have a gay relationship on Discovery as well. That's just like our today's, like our grandparents and our parents like interracial kiss is our like gay kiss on TV.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
So that's what I'm saying, like don't fucking bash the whole series for that alone.
Oh no, like it's always been happening. It's just a little more in your face.
Yeah, it's just an overtly progressive series, and I think these are all very appropriate progressive themes, and I think the actual story and the actual bread and butter of Discovery was extremely enjoyable.
No, it was really good, and like it was nice to see a difference from the other series, because the other series you saw a lot of similarities, and like it's nice to see how extreme the director and like the cast went with this series.
Yeah, but besides that, I think the only criticism I really could make of the series is that the pacing is kind of weird to interpret the first time around. I feel like I would like it a lot more if I watched it a second time, because I knew they were going to go to a mirror universe, and I thought that they would spend like one episode there and it would be like a fun mirror universe episode. When really the mirror universe they were there for like a quarter of the whole season. It played a pivotal and extremely crucial role in the storytelling element of the story, because, you know, obviously, guys, this is not a spoiler-free review, but fucking Lorca, I was not expecting Captain Lorca to be the alternate reality Lorca until about 15 seconds before it was revealed. Like, I knew it was coming.
You're like,
as soon as all the pieces came together, I was like, oh, really? So that's what they were doing this whole time? He really is that Lorca? And, a lot of people are speculating for season 3. I don't know what goes on in season 2, but people are speculating for season 3 that they might even bring back the original Gabriel Lorca from the main universe. I would love to meet him, because what was weird about Lorca just becoming like a dick so easily is because I actually respected him so much in the first half of the season.
He was he was just kind of a badass. That's why, like, I thought he was cool.
Yeah, I think I respected him because he was a badass, but really he didn't. I think I was like, oh wow, we have a Starfleet captain who just totally abandoned Starfleet values. Like, he doesn't really care. He's like there to win a war. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, that sounds really cool and interesting. But then they kind of divvy off to that, and then they go to this whole mirror universe shit, and it's like, oh, he's actually not meant to be a recurring character. He's just like, oh, he's the villain. He's the ultimate villain, actually. He's worse than the captain. No, worse than Philippa Georgiou, sorry. But yeah, and then also, when you defeat like a villain at the end of a season or something, they kind of learn just the hypocrisy of their way of thinking.
Yeah, they're like oh...
yeah, like
Lorca kind of realized what he did.
He like realized what he did as soon as Michael Burnham was like, "Oh yeah, I'm not gonna kill you because like I believe in Starfleet." Like that's the whole theme of the first season.
Yeah, I know.
Like just sticking to your core values.
From this like kind of like they're in the middle of a war, so like we have morals because we're Starfleet.
We should probably rather be destroyed than abandon those values.
Yeah, like we're gonna live by these morals instead of just being these like kind of scummy. Like we shouldn't be proud of doing something scummy.
But here's the thing, like, and then like Lorca's eyes like open up and he realizes like, okay, but then he's just fucking murdered after that and incinerated. So like I don't feel like he's really learned that much.
It kind of ruined it for me though. I was just like, he's learning, and it's just like.
I feel like it's appropriate for him to be killed, but I feel like he needed an extra minute of screen time.
That's why I want to see like more Lorca.
I do want to see what like main universe Gabriel Lorca is doing, because if like the fucking mirror universe Gabriel Lorca was any indication of how good of a Starfleet captain he was, he probably might still be alive, because Starfleet captains are absolutely insane. I mean,
oh yeah,
dude, I was rewatching episode 1 the other day, and something that really resonated with me. Philippa Georgiou and Michael Burnham are down on the planet, and Captain Georgiou asked her, she's like, if you were trapped on this island, or if you were trapped on this planet for 85 years in the desert, like what would you do? And Michael Burnham was like, well, since I'm a philanthropologist, I would probably try to blend in with the locals, you know, and try to live a normal life here, maybe even do some studying and wait for rescue. And she was like, what would you do? She's like, oh, that's easy, I'd escape.
Yeah,
because like
she's so ambitious.
Yeah, no, Starfleet captains literally are against impossible odds in every scenario,
like,
and
I'll just do this impossible thing, like whatever.
Like you have these Warp 9 capable ships that you're flying around, and they're top of the line, and they could literally compete with all the other fucking factions. You could kick their ass. But ultimately, Starfleet captains aren't in those scenarios most of the time. They're against impossible odds, against literal like beings who have a higher level of sentience and existence, that are made out of energy, who are omniscient, and they still have to beat them at like. They just cannot allow themselves to be beaten. They have to save the ship and their crew, and I thought that was so fucking cool. And stuff like that reminded me how, I mean, there might be slight canonical differences, which I don't even know if there's like huge conflicting ones, like I haven't noticed them yet. But I mean, this series really does care about like core Trek values.
Yeah, no.
And it's made with some passion.
Like what Starfleet stands for. It's just really cool to see that like difference from like earlier in the series.
All right, with that, I think now would be a good time to give our rating. I'm going to give Star Trek Discovery Season 1, I would like to give it a 7.5 out of 10.
Compared to some other Star Treks, are you rating it?
Yeah, like I would put 10. I would put a 10 at Deep Space Nine.
I haven't watched that, so
it's the best one.
Where would you put Enterprise on that?
Enterprise, I would give it as a whole,
yeah,
I would give it an 8 or an 8.5.
What would you give the original series?
I would give it an 8.
I would give Discovery then an 8.
An 8?
Yeah.
Like, if we're talking about series comparison here with rating, because when I say that, people might think that like I like Discovery or I might like Enterprise more than the original series. I kind of did enjoy watching Enterprise more than the original series.
It's just wholesome.
It's wholesome, it's good.
It's just like Jonathan Archer's a good old boy.
That doesn't mean I don't fucking like Kirk and Spock like McCoy. Like those aren't way better characters than like literally anyone in Enterprise.
I really liked how each series has their different quirks, but I really like how Enterprise has... I really like the Doctor.
Phlox is great,
Phlox
but
is amazing.
I mean, you haven't really watched like jack shit of the original series yet, and Dr. McCoy is not only like I don't even think he's my favorite Doctor, but he's a great Doctor. He's also my favorite character in all of Star Trek.
I'm just saying Enterprise, like Phlox.
Phlox is a good old boy.
Like Tuck. Just like any character in there is wholesome except Malcolm. Like Malcolm kind of sucks.
Malcolm's just kind of a fucking weirdo.
He's just kind of like this weird introvert that just kind of does his own thing.
All right, so yeah, what was your rating again?
An 8.
And mine was a 7.5. Just for the first season, I don't know how much I can like rate the series as an entirety. This is just the single season, how much I enjoyed this one. The episodes that are really carrying that score, I would like to mention.
The Groundhog Day episode.
The Groundhog Day episode, and then also the prison escape episode with Ash Tyler and Lorca.
Yeah, that episode was really good. And then like, not any really episode in particular, but the episodes where you start to see, I really enjoyed the Valk stuff. So like the episodes where you start to see like that connect is really cool to me.
Anyways, guys, what do you think of our opinions? What do you think of our review? What are your opinions on Star Trek Discovery? Do you beef with it? Do you really like it? Please let us know down in the comments. It has proven to be a pretty controversial series among the fans, so I'm really interested to hear what you guys think. With that, I'm gonna have to see you guys in the next one.